Good evening, everyone. Hello.
Good evening, madam.
Yeah, we have only 9 people. All right, now we get 11. Okay. How are you all? I could see Chaturani. Chaturani, how are you?
I'm fine, madam.
Okay. Then I can see Mafasa, Sihana, Chamodi, Sashi, Pasma, Senthil. Are you Senthil? And I can see Nimasha. Who's this ASUS? Right, okay. There are 11 people. Don't know why. Right. Yes, how many lessons have we completed so far? Can you remember? Can anybody remember?
3 lessons, ma'am.
3. This is the 4th one, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Shall we just switch on our cameras for a while? Till the others join, we can give them few minutes. Hello? Yes? Okay. I can see Sachi, right? Nice. How are you?
Doing great, ma'am. Thank you. How are you, ma'am?
And then who's next? I see only Sashi. I can see Chamodi. Mafasa.
Yes, madam.
Can I see your face today for a while? I know that once we switch on the camera, then there might be disturbances, the signal problems and all. All right. Okay. Sihana. Right. Chaturani. Now we have 10 people. My God. After telling them to switch on the camera.
Madam, I am Mafaza.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remember, madam? I am one of your students in Kalutara Paston National College of Education.
Mafasa, can't you see? I can't. Mafasa, switch on the camera.
Okay, madam. In a little moment, I will switch on the camera.
You were in Pastunrata?
Yeah, madam.
Yeah. Which year?
2007, 9 beds, madam.
I was there. Yes, till 2009. Right. I think I can remember. Just show me your face now.
Okay, madam. Okay.
Nice to see you from college. Take time. Mafasa. Right. Can remember your face, right? Oh, how old are you now? Is it a bad question anyway? Because can't see, you get old.
Sorry, madam. Now I am in principal service.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Mavanella.
Mavanella.
Yeah.
You're from Mavanella?
Yes, madam. I am from Mavanella.
Right. I can remember there were many. Mafasa, you were in Rajivan's batch? Can you remember somebody from Jaffna?
Bandula. No, madam. Bandula.
Ah,
Bandula.
Bandula.
Imhani. Yeah.
Anuradha.
Roshan. Yes, Anuradha. Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember. Yes, yes, that batch. I did elements of education,
Elements of
right? To your
education. Yeah,
batch. Ah,
yes.
yeah. Okay, nice to see you,
Thank you.
Mafasa. Thank you for
Yes.
telling it. Okay, right. Then shall we start the lesson now? Hmm? Only 10 people, but we can't waste time waiting for the others, right? Thank you, everyone. Now, if you want, you can switch off the camera because sometimes the camera gives us a lot of problems, right? Maybe the data or the signal problem, right? Yes. Um, Today we have to discuss the same. I mean, we are speaking about education, philosophy, and the relationship between education and philosophy. And the different philosophers and their ideas and how they are influential in modern education, like that. Right? Now, today, we are going to discuss another aspect of philosophy, educational philosophy, which is very important. Right, I think you all can see. Right, you can see the screen now.
Yes.
Can you all see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. Okay, yes. Right, if there's a problem, just tell me. Otherwise, I don't know. I think everything is clear to you. Hmm? Right, you can ask any question if you want. Right, now, first question is this. Can anybody answer why do you study educational philosophy? You all are teachers, right? As a teacher, why do you study educational philosophy? To understand something. What's it? Hmm? Can anybody tell me? Ah, now see. Understanding the foundations of modern educational practices, right? Yes, now we sometimes call the subject foundation of education. So then how the education is evolved up to now. What happened to education from the ancient era? And we study how the framework of education is designed and developed, right? So then we can understand the foundations. Gaining insights into constant debates about the purpose and methods of education. Now remember, the purpose of education should be understood by the teacher, why we teach these subjects, why we teach this content. Like you have to understand the purpose and methods of education depending on the student's level and their needs, their capacities, right? So through philosophy, we can learn all these things. Appreciating the influence of historical thinkers on contemporary pedagogy. That means the present day teaching learning process. Present day teaching learning process is influenced by the historical ideas, historical thinkers. Historical means ancient educationists, ancient philosophers, right? So we can get their ideas and we appreciate how they have put forward their ideas. And most of their ideas are actually, we should say, timeless. because appropriate to the modern era as well. Okay. Then developing a critical perspective on current educational challenges. Okay. Developing a critical perspective on current educational. You know, as a teacher, you face different challenges, right? Maybe classroom management is a challenge, maybe understanding or selecting the content, right? Identifying appropriate methodologies. There are different challenges. So, then the way you face all these challenges, the way you think critically towards them, right? So all these things are based on your own educational philosophy, right? At the same time, you can just recognize the evolving nature of learning. That means the individual's way of learning, and society, what the society expect through the process of education, right? You know, now in the modern era, we focus a lot on individual, but in the ancient era, they focused a lot on the society, the development of the society. Right. Now we can compare the ancient world and now. First of all, we'll just see how they lay the foundation for education or educational philosophy. Right? These are the characteristics of ancient world, ancient era. They focused on practical skills, that's true, and especially moral development, right? And transmission of culture, okay? Cultural values from generation to generation, right? Moral development and transmission of cultural values, right? And remember the education. How was the education? Maybe you have studied English literature and then you understand how the nobility, the noble class got the opportunities of education. Even in Sri Lanka, right? And there was the feudal system, and then the upper class people got educational opportunities and the lower class people didn't get. So like that, in the ancient world, education was reserved for the elite class, the upper class people. And when we study educational philosophy, these two civilizations are very important, Egypt and Greece, right? In ancient Egypt, their emphasis was on vocational training, right? So they train people for a job, right? And then religious instructions as well, and scribal skills, the writing skills as well. Then ancient Greece is considered the birthplace of Western educational philosophy. That means the English speaking countries, right? Now, the comparison here, the ancient era laid a crucial foundation. Now, you know, in the ancient era, ancient philosophers, they laid the foundation of educational philosophy. But in the modern era, modern educational philosophy, please understand these ideas, because our modern educational philosophy, it has built upon the ancient ideas, but we significantly deviated from those early ideas, right? Now, now I said now the sorry. the ancient era focused a lot on the society, but we focus a lot on individuals. Like that, there are deviations, but we use the framework. We use their ideas as the foundation. We do not forget. We do not ignore the ancient philosophical ideas. Right. Then the modern era, let's see how we are shifting from ancient era to the modern era, what we all focus, right? The main focus is on individual. That means the child, right? Even though they had the student-centered education, they wanted uh, to focus on education to be student-centered. That's true. But in the modern era, there's a lot of ideas, lot of activities, lot of influence on the individual. Okay. Ancient philosophies often emphasized societal needs, ideal society, and all, but the modern philosophy centers on the individual learner, their unique needs, their personal needs, their interests as well, and their capacities or the potentials, right? That's the individual attention, right? Then emphasis on experience and activity. Right. There was rote learning, there was teacher-centered education in the ancient era, but now not that, not the jug to mug process, right? Not purely teaching, but we use more activities and experiential learning, right? Then the learner is to be more active than the ancient era. And democratization of education. We discussed that earlier. In the ancient eras, in every country, there was the upper class people. There were, and they were the people who got the opportunities, educational opportunities. But now we say throughout different organizations in the world, different efforts, then we should say education is for all, right? The education should be accessible to all the citizens in a country. So that's called democratization of education. Then influence of psychology and social sciences, right? You all learn educational psychology. You all learn educational sociology. The influence of those subjects, those concepts on education are very important in the modern educational philosophy, right? Because we get the maximum out of the developments of psychology and sociology. If you speak about psychology, there are, the learning theories and the developmental stages of the child and how the child learns, like that. Then if you speak about sociology, you know the socialization of the child and the influence of the society and the learning, right? The influence of the society on child's learning and equity in the society. All these things are the concepts from sociology and psychology. They are influential on educational philosophy. Right. Then different perspectives, diverse perspectives, right? So then what do you think about it? A wider range of philosophical perspectives have influenced education. right? There is pragmatism, existentialism, critical theory, and feminism. For example, there are more, but I have mentioned few. These are some of the examples. We don't study them in detail, but you should understand. I think I told you the other day, there are different aspects of philosophy. Okay, so then there are different perspectives. All these things influence modern educational philosophy. Right, now let's see how these things are important for education, right? Existentialism, that means you can see learning the essentials, right? Perennialism, utilizing the great books when you are studying. Now you can see we use all these strategies, we use all these ideas in your classroom. Progressivism, learning by doing is the gist. Existentialism, having individual choice, people have a choice. Then behaviorism, influence on the behavior, modifying, changing the behavior of the child. And then constructivism, that's important, constructing meaning out of what we speak or what we teach. Then reconstructionism, that means social reforms. The society is there. We think of educational reforms. We think of social reforms, right? Now, let's watch this and get some more ideas quickly. Now,
as an education student.
right. Now, can you all see this video? Can't you see the video?
Can see.
Can see.
Can? Right. Okay. Now listen to it. You have to pay a lot of attention because it's somewhat fast. But it will take only 7-8 minutes. Then listen carefully. Okay? I'll make it louder. Right. Now listen and watch this.
You have been acquainted with various philosophies.
Essentialism, perennialism, progressivism, existentialism, behaviorism, constructivism, reconstructionism.
But, have you fully understand what these philosophies mean? In this video, you will know better the known philosophies that influence the teaching profession. What does philosophy mean? The word philosophy comes from two Greek words, philo and sophos. Philo means love. Sophos means wisdom. Literally then, philosophy means love of wisdom. The philosophy of education examines the goals, forms, methods, and meaning of education. It is important to understand how philosophy and education are interrelated. In order to become the most effective teacher you can be, you must understand your own beliefs, while at the same time empathizing with others.
Right. Now you have to understand, as a teacher, you should understand the goals, forms, methods, and meaning of education, right?
While at the same time empathizing with others. Let's start to learn more about the known philosophies of education. Essentialism, perennialism, progressivism, existentialism, behaviorism, constructivism, and Reconstructionism. First on the list, essentialism. Essentialism advocates training the mind with what are essential. In this philosophical school of thought, the aim is to instill students with the essentials of academic knowledge, enacting a back to basics approach.
Right. Essentialism, training the mind with what are essential. That means we teach students the essential knowledge, essential content. Okay? You understand, you select the appropriate content. You know, we have a grading system. Grade 1, we select the content appropriate to grade 1. Then we go to grade 2, then another curriculum. Okay?
The emphasis of education is on academic content for students to learn the basic skills or the fundamental R's such as reading, writing, arithmetic, and right conduct. Essentialist teachers emphasize mastery of subject matter. They are expected to be intellectual and moral models of their students. They observe core requirements and longer academic year. Next philosophy is perennialism. Perennialism in education is the belief that schools should teach ideas that are everlasting. You can remember the word perennialism by remembering that perennial means lasting for many years. The goal of a perennialist education is to teach students to think rationally and develop minds that can think critically. The perennialist curriculum is a universal one. What the perennialist teachers teach are lifted from classic and great books. The perennialist classrooms are teacher-centered. Students engaged in Socratic dialogue, or mutual inquiry sessions to develop an understanding of history's most timeless concepts. Next philosophy is progressivism. Progressivism is the idea that education comes from the experience of the child. Progressivist
Sorry, just wait. Something went wrong.
aims to develop learners into becoming enlightened and intelligent citizens. Progressivists use a curriculum that responds to students' needs and that relates to their personal lives and experience. Teachers teach students things that are practical for life and encourage them to grow into better people. They also teach students the skills to cope with change. Progressivist teachers employ experiential methods. They believe that one learns by doing. Another known philosophy of education is existentialism. Existentialism in education focuses on the individual's freedom to choose their own purpose in life. The main concern of existentialists is to help students understand and appreciate themselves as unique individuals who accept complete responsibility for their thoughts, feelings, and actions. In existentialist curriculum, students are given a wide variety of options from which to choose. Humanities are given tremendous emphasis. Existentialist methods focus on the individual. Learning is self-paced and self-directed. Next is the behaviorism philosophy. Behaviorism focuses on the acquisition of new behavior based on environmental conditions. Behaviorists are concerned with the modification and shaping of students' behavior by providing for a favorable environment, since they believe that we are a product of our environment. Behaviorist teachers teach students to respond favorably to various stimuli in the environment. Teachers arrange environmental conditions so that students can make the responses to stimuli. They provide reinforcement and punishment to reinforce positive responses and weaken or eliminate negative ones.
Normally, we don't encourage punishment, but we give them the feedback, right? We give the students constructive criticism. So then the children will get positive comments and negative comments, but not in a destructive way. Okay, right. Then we can correct and we provide them the correct learning environment. And after allowing them to get the correct experience, if they go wrong, then we have to correct them, and then they can reinforce what they learn. That means they can remember, they can make use of that particular knowledge in another situation.
Another known philosophy of education is constructivism. Constructivism says that people construct their own understanding and knowledge of the world through experiencing things and reflecting on those experiences. Constructivist aims to develop intrinsically motivated and independent learners equipped with learning skills for them to be able to construct knowledge and make meaning of them. Students are taught how to learn. They are taught learning processes and skills. The constructivist teacher provides students with data or experiences that allow them hypothesize, predict, manipulate, pose questions, research and invent. The last philosophy that we will tackle in this video is Reconstructionism. Reconstructionism or critical theory is a philosophy that emphasizes the addressing of social questions in a quest to create a better society and worldwide democracy. Reconstructionist educators focus on a curriculum that highlights social reform as the aim of education.
We know that we have to change the society, means we have to now for example, the easiest example is your group work in the classroom. Then the child's social skills are developed. How they have to change. They should change themselves, accepting others' ideas, respecting and the democracy, maintaining democracy and sharing and all those things, the skills necessary for us to live in the society are practiced in the classroom, right?
For Reconstructionists, curriculum focuses on students taking social action in solving real problems such as environmental problems, hunger, international terrorism, inflation, and inequality. Reconstructionists deals with social issues through inquiry, dialogue, and multiple perspectives. Community-based learning and bringing the world into the classroom are also utilized. Here are the known philosophies of education with their keywords. Essentialism, learning the essential like the 3 R's. Perennialism, utilizing the great books. Progressivism, learning by doing. Existentialism, having individual choice. Behaviorism, modifying behavior. Constructivism, constructing meaning. Reconstructionism, having social reform. Do you have questions about these philosophies? Comment them below. Don't forget.
Okay. Right. Now I think you can watch this video leisurely once I share this with you. And then these things are very important. I mean, we actually don't get each and everything in the syllabus, but as a teacher, we can expand our knowledge and how different angles, different perspectives of philosophy influence our day-to-day practice in the classroom. I think I have told you once we discuss things here in our lessons. Once you go to school, maybe tomorrow, you have to think of something new to be added in the lessons, right? Because now we always emphasize on social skills through group work, and we always emphasize giving feedback after each step of the lesson, monitor the group work well, and pay a lot of individual attention, and then the necessity of interpersonal relationships among students, and maintaining democracy in the classroom, at the same time in their groups, right? All these things are necessary for improvement of our practice, right?
To subscribe.
Okay, now, sorry. Now let's focus on the timeline of evolution of educational philosophy. Now we know that educational philosophy is practiced in the ancient era as well, and we know that we get the foundation from the ancient era. So this is actually, this is not philosophy. This slide is for you to understand English, right? And the common usage of English, the shortened forms and all, right? Then we just use BCE. Before the common era is the idea. That means BC, we just say before Christ, right? 200 BC. That means before the birth of Jesus Christ. Some people complain that it is related only to one religion. Therefore, people looked for non-religious alternative, right? Then they go for BCE, before the common era. But that is basically on the birth of Jesus Christ, right? CE is the common era. It is used for years after year 1, right? That means we just say Anno Domini. Anno Domini is year of the Lord. That means the first year after the birth of the Jesus Christ, right? Anno Domini. Then please remember CE instead of Anno Domini, BCE instead of BC. That is for your general knowledge. And there's another usage, simple C. You can see in the 5th century, right? We have to use in around 5th century, about 5th century. That therefore we use the letter C there. That is actually derived from a Latin word, circa, right? Then we say the shortened form C, Latin word, that its meaning is around 5th century, approximately in the 5th century, because no one can fix a date for sure, right? We do not know the exact date, but it is an estimation, right? Therefore we just say around 16th century this happened, right? So please understand how we use English here. Right, now the evolution of educational philosophy. Now you can see the periods here. There are 4 periods: ancient period, medieval, modern, and 20th and 21st centuries. Okay. Basically, we say around 6th century to 5th century, CE or BCE, right? Now 6th century BCE to CE, before the common era to common era, right? Then 5th century CE to 15th century CE, 16th century CE to 19th century, and 20th and 21st centuries, okay? Right, so this is a general overview, right? Then educational philosophy is developed throughout from the ancient era up to now, right? It is an ongoing process. At the same time, there are continuous arguments, continuous problems emerged in the society. New ideas are coming in because the society is changing. So then the cultural values, they are changing. The technological aspect there are developments. Based on all these changes, the educational philosophy is a continuous process where we have to face all these changes and challenges, right? Now, let's focus on the ancient period from 6th century BCE, before the Common Era, to 5th century in the Common Era, right? Now, during that period, the main ideas were the ethics, that means actually the moral development, ethics, virtue, and the holistic development, as we all know, mind, body, and spirit, and the reason, the development of good citizens, that means the citizenship is developed, right? And the key figures, or the main philosophers were Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, right? So understand their philosophies and the era where they were, when they were, right? Then the Socrates actually introduced the Socratic method of questioning. Why? He wanted people to think critically. He identified and he introduced critical thinking, and self-examination was important according to him, right? And he believed that the aim of education should be to awaken the student to truth and virtue, right? The student should identify the truth, study the truth, and the ethics, virtues related to their society, right? Then the Plato's idea, he wanted a structured, state-controlled education system, right? So then Plato focused a lot on the state, means the government, right? So he emphasized the development of reason. He believed education should identify and cultivate the talents of individuals for different roles in the society, because we produced people to improve the society. We have to produce the leaders, we have to produce the rulers, we have to produce teachers, like that. They have to play different roles in the society. Then Aristotle. Aristotle emphasized on observation and practical study, empirical study, right? And he wanted to inculcate or just emphasize on the reason and virtue, again the ethics, right? Moral development of a person, the importance of intellectual development and habits, moral behavior. And he wanted to explore, or he explored the role of practical knowledge and skills, right? Now you can see there are overlaps, and these ideas are important in the modern world as well, right? They actually focused on the foundation, right? Their ideas have become foundation on the modern philosophy, right? The ancient Greek and Roman societies, Mediterranean societies, in those societies, they actually developed structured educational systems, right? That means the holistic development was influenced, was emphasized. That means the physical, intellectual, and moral aspects. Now we say knowledge, skills, and attitudes. In the same way, they actually almost the same, right? They focused on the intellectual development, that means the based on knowledge, physical development. Right now, we focus in the classroom, there should be the skill development. Right now, here, a separate physical development in the ancient era, and moral development at the same time, artistic, the aesthetic aspect to be developed. So, these ideas were important in the ancient era. Okay. Then the second period, medieval period. Now remember, the medieval period means the religion. In the medieval period, you know, especially the Christianity, the influence of Christianity on education and on philosophy was important. Right? Medieval period was dominated by the religion. Right? Then education should aim at understanding God and religious doctrines, spiritual development, and then they had the idea of preparing people for eternal life, right? So then they actually focused on the religion a lot, and the religion was the authority at that time, and then the religious practices, rituals were there. With that, with them, we got different traditions and different disciplines. So those ideas are important. Now remember, in the medieval period, everything is dominated by the religion, right? The key figures, now you see, actually we have to say early Christian thinkers like Clement of Alexandria, Saint Augustine, like that. So then they try to integrate their Christian teachings with the classical philosophy. Augustine, he emphasized on the role of inner reflection, inner mind, and then the understanding of the God, right? That should be the ultimate or the final goal of knowledge. Knowledge means studying about the God, right? According to that, those Christian thinkers. And there were Islamic scholars as well, right? According to those Islamic scholars, they actually wanted people to focus on classical knowledge, right? Now, they focused on medicine, field of medicine, mathematics. Remember them, right? In the medieval period, the Islamic scholars, they focused on medicine and mathematics and philosophy as well, and integration of faith and reason. You know, every religion they have, we also have a faith. So then, according to their religion, the Islamic scholars also wanted people to have faith, wanted people to integrate faith with reason, right? Now, Thomas Aquinas is very important and famous about as a scholastic thinker, right? Because he studied a lot on Christian theology, right? The foundations of Christianity. All these are important. And he combined Christian theology with Aristotelian philosophy, right? He combined the idea about the Christianity and ideas about the reason or the logic put forward by Aristotle. So then intellectual method in medieval universities were important, right? They emphasized on dialectical reasoning, rigorous analysis of text. You know, it was very rigorous, means something very hard to people, very difficult to manage, right? But the students had to study different texts and they had to analyze them because they focused a lot on Christian theology, right? That's not easy for people to understand. Then, with the rise of religions, there were universities in Europe, right? And it was a significant incident, especially for formal education, right? Higher education. In those universities, basically they taught theology, law, and medicine, right? They are important because they started those in the medieval period. Right. Modern period. Now you know modern period from 16th century to 19th century is called modern period, right? Then after that, the period after the modern period is called 20th and 21st centuries, where I mean now we are living in the 21st century. We have passed 20th century, so they are together, right? But the modern period is up to 19th century from 16th century, right? Now here individualism came into being and human rights were discussed in the modern era. And then you can understand that the developing critical thinking was important and there was science and technological developments. Therefore, scientific inquiry, scientific questioning was there, right? Then I just focused on only two thinkers, two educationists, philosophers, Michael D. Montaigne and John Locke, right? Michael studied more about practical and experimental approach to education, experiential and practical. The students have to learn through their experiences. Practical work should be there, according to him. He emphasized critical judgment or critical thinking over rote learning. Rote learning means now the teacher explains everything, teacher says everything, and the child has to remember what the teacher says. Right? That's called rote learning. Katapadam karano, right? But here you have to, in our education system, we just give you the main points and you can explore and learn and expand your knowledge, right? So then John Locke studied a lot on sensory experience, right? Our sensory organs. We have 5 sensory organs. Those sensory experience were important, right? And then he could ask for self-discipline, practical skills. He focused on developing reason. And then you can just say you have to identify the different way that he put forward his idea, because he suggested the importance of environment for the first time. Experience in developing the individual. Okay, now environment is the base for education. In that environment, we can give the child enough experience, and enough the experience, all those experience develop the individual. Okay. And he had the concept of that's called tabula rasa, that means the blank slate. Can you remember blank slate means the black plate of something? In the ancient era, people were writing on it like that. The child's mind is like a blank slate, and then it should be shaped by giving him enough experience, right? So the blank slate should be full, little by little. Right. More about the modern period. Okay. Then there's an important thinker, educationist, a philosopher, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. I think we discussed his philosophy, right? You can remember he spoke a lot about child's freedom. Child is not a small adult, according to him. And, he wanted the child's natural development. And the child is born good and the society corrupts him. So education should not do that, and education should allow, let the child to learn through experience and in harmony, in connection with the nature, according to Rousseau, right? Then Immanuel Kant emphasized the importance of reason and moral education. Okay. He believed education should enrich autonomy and the ability to think, right? The thinking process to be developed, according to Kant. Then, Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi, he focused on child-centered education. Remember, even Rousseau focused on child-centered education, right? Sensory learning was important according to him. The natural abilities within the child to be developed, and the environment should be favorable for the child. The next philosopher, Friedrich Froebel, developed the concept of kindergarten. Now remember, we spoke about Maria Montessori, and before her, Friedrich focused on kindergarten, the preschool education. He emphasized on play and activity as the methods. They are important for early childhood development. Even now we accept that playway method and activity-based learning, and there should be a lot of activities for children to explore the environment, get the practice for improve their skills or the hand-on skills, right? So we learn all these things and we make use of these ideas for developing our children, right? Now you can just have an idea. There were philosophers in the ancient era, right? And then we divide them into different eras. I mean, the philosophical foundation of education, and the ancient era laid the foundation. Based on that foundation, we have the philosophers in the modern or the latest era, maybe in the 20th century or the 21st century. They have developed their own ideas, but they did not forget the ancient ideas. But we have to say we did not accept fully. That means we did not get everything, but it was selective, right? Those ideas were important. That's right. Then the philosophers in the 20th and 21st century considered those ideas, the previous ideas, previous philosophical ideas were the foundation for our educational philosophy. Right. Now about 20th and 21st centuries. Right? Now we spoke about up to 19th century, and now 20th and 21st centuries, the latest era. Right? Now here in the modern era, I mean the contemporary period, we should say, according to educational philosophy, a lot of emphasis is on individual differences, the child's differences, right? One child is different from the other. Therefore, we should not expect the same from two persons, two children. And there should be social justice. Within the classroom, you have to maintain these. And experiential learning is important. We have to provide learning opportunities for the child to expand his horizons. That means get more and more experiences. And then the impact, the influence of psychology and technology on education in the 20th and 21st centuries, they are very important. Right. In these centuries, we have John Dewey, Maria Montessori, and Rudolf Steiner. Okay, for example, there are a lot, right? There were many, but we can select few people, otherwise it won't be successful. We can't study all these ideas, right? But as teachers, you can explore what they have said and what they have suggested us to do through the process of education, right? Now you all have to listen carefully, right? Study them carefully, and at the end of the session today, let's try to answer some questions, okay? Based on these ideas. But no need to worry too much about it, right? Just have a discussion. Then John Dewey's idea, experiential learning, as we discussed, problem solving, and real life experiences, and the student-centered education. And democratic society, that means role of education in the democratic society. That means in the field of education, we have to maintain democracy, right? In the classroom itself, there should be democracy, okay? Then Maria Montessori, her method is called Montessori method. And then especially the early childhood education, right? So there are a lot of activities according to her. The last one here, Rudolf Steiner, and then word of education, because according to him, there's the type of education called Waldorf education. There he focused on holistic development, right? Integration of subjects, integrating of arts, right? Different arts, maybe dancing, music, sculpture, then the drama, all these are important to be integrated. Then the practical skills and the developmental approach that respects the different stages of childhood, right? The childhood should be respected. If it is respected well, the child will be successful as a citizen in the future. The child's Total development is focused here. Right. Now, I have mentioned about some philosophical concepts in the 20th and 21st centuries. The critical pedagogy, especially discussed by Paulo Freire, he emphasized the social and political aspects of education, right? He aimed at empowering learners to critically analyze and challenge social inequalities. Now you can see there were some struggles about social, actually due to social inequalities. Even now we have inequalities in the field of education as well in countries like Sri Lanka, right? So then those ideas are still important for us. Then constructivism, the ideas by Piaget and Brunner. So then they ask or they suggested us to get the child to construct knowledge, right? Without giving them the knowledge, get the child to construct knowledge, right? Why? They have to interact with the other people, they have to interact with the society, they have to interact with the environment. Through those experiences, the child has to construct knowledge. That's an important method. That's very effective, right? And here, active learning is important. The child's ability to exploration, to do exploring things, that's important, right? The child has to discover. We have to let the child discover things without our information, right? So they are very effective methods, constructivism. Then essentialism and perennialism, as we discussed earlier, right? As we watched, these are, these are very important. Then these traditional philosophies. These traditional philosophies are also very important, and according to extensionism and perennialism, the knowledge is focused a lot. And academic rigor, that means a lot of effort should be made for academic purposes. And then in the enduring ideas, that means the ideas are important, right? The child ideas are important. Then feminist, multiculturalist, and post-modern perspectives, right? Even in 20th and 21st centuries, there are different divisions, there are different ideas. So according to postmodern perspectives, they have actually the critical thinking, critical perspectives, right? And the traditional educational philosophies, they were challenged, right? The traditional methods were challenged by these, right? Because this is the method or the strategy for education with more inclusive and equitable, right? Because education is for all. Then they should understand everyone should be included there. Everyone should be included in education. I think nowadays you have learned the concept of inclusive education. You know, there are people with, we call them, they are differently abled, and sometimes we call them children with special education needs. So then, according to the concept of inclusive education, they should not be separated from the normal classroom. They should be included in the normal classroom, otherwise, they cannot experience the normal behavior of a child. If they have the, now in our schools, we have a special education unit, right? Parents think that all the special children should be there in the unit, then our children are safe. No, those children should be included in the normal day-to-day teaching learning process. Those children are becoming familiar with what is normal. Otherwise, they experience maybe the abnormal things, because everyone has a problem in the classroom, right? If there's a special education unit, they have different sorts of problems. Children see only the problems, they don't see anything favorable. Therefore, they should be included in the normal teaching learning process, right? And equitable, that means common to all, education for all, shared by everyone, right? And then diverse approaches to education. That's important. Different approaches to education. We don't want just the traditional way. We don't want only one way. No, there should be different ways of imparting knowledge, giving them experience, right? And then again, we have to address the issues regarding maybe gender issues, culture, and power, right? Sometimes there are struggles in the classroom. Why? They are fighting for power, like that. And they don't respect each other's culture. Then there are problems, the issues. And then we as educationists, we have to think of correct approaches and address those issues successfully. Right. Now, before we come to this topic, I want you to focus your attention on few questions, right? I am trying to share those questions for you now. Right. Please read these and then you have to say yes or no. You can send the question number and yes or no to the chat box. Right? There are 3 questions here. I'll give you 2 or 3 more after this. Right? You have to put the question number 1, yes or no. 2, yes or no. Like that. Your choice should be there, not both. Huh? Don't write both yes and no, but you have to select one according to our discussion, right? Yes, quickly do it now. Send me your answers to the chat box for the first 3 questions. Right. Then yes, altogether 8 questions. Try to answer these questions as well. Give me 2-3 minutes. Right. Oh, ask question 4 then. That one do. Right. Now question 4 to 8. Okay. All right. 4 messages here. Number 3. All right. Yes. Send me the messages. God. Okay. Right. Please make an effort on the other questions 4 to 8 as well. Send the messages. Everybody, please just think. Right. Yeah, got some answers. Send everyone. Please try. Right. Okay, thank you for sending your answers. Right, let's see the first one. Was education in the ancient world often reserved for the elite class? Did we mention that? Yes. Elite or the upper class people? Yes or no? Yes, reserved for upper class people. So you have to say yes. Right, thank you. In ancient Greece, considered the birthplace of Western educational philosophy? Yes. Does modern educational philosophy increasingly center on the individual learner? What do you say? You have to say yes.
No.
Why?
Yes.
Yeah, we have
Students
to.
saying that.
Yeah, in the ancient era, it was centered on the society,
Teachers.
right? Yes, we produce people or the individuals for the benefit of the society. But now we focus on individual learner, right? Their needs and interests. Right. Is the idea that education should be accessible to all referred to as the democratization of education? Yes or no? Education for all?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Does BCE stand for before the Common Era? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Did Socrates introduce the Socratic method of questioning?
No.
No. Oh, yes. Can you remember any something called Socratic method?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, right. I'll show you what to understand there. Number 6 is a problem. I saw some of you have said no, some of you have said yes. Right, I'll come to that point. Mm, did Friedrich Froebel develop the concept of kindergarten?
Yes.
Yes. Is the relationship between education and philosophy dynamic and interactive? That means changing and interactive? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why? Because we discussed towards the end, there are different social issues, the society is changing, therefore the philosophy should address all these changing situations, right? Then the relationship should change, okay? Right? And it should be interactive. Now through the process of philosophy, we get the foundation, we get the new concepts to the education. Through the interactive means the process of education also influence philosophy. That means through the process of education, we produced philosophers. They inquired and they just questioned and they became philosophies through the process of education. Right. Question 7, somebody says no. But yes, he paid a lot of attention on kindergarten, right? Number 8, you say no. No, it's yes, because now the philosophy's relationship is changing means there should be the relationship at the same time it goes up and down, right? And it should be interactive. So you have to say yes. And number 6, about Socrates, I'll show you. Right, okay. They are the crucial points here. Thank you for your efforts. Uh-huh. Right. Mhm. Right. Number 8, you have to say yes. Okay. Relationship is there. There are different issues and it is changing and it is interactive. Right. I'll show you. The give me 2-3 minutes now. Right. I'll share the PowerPoint once again. Now, can you see about Socrates? Socratic method of questioning is introduced by Socrates, right? Can you all see this?
Yes, madam.
Right. Okay. Yes, he introduced the method of questioning. Why? We wanted to encourage, stimulate critical thinking through questioning, according to him. Right? Yes. Then let's start the second half here. Yeah, where we? Okay, and this one. Yes, now we understood and we studied and we just accepted that education and philosophy are interactive, right? So the relationship is changing from time to time. There are challenges, and through the process of education, we produce philosophers, right? Like that. So the dependence of education on philosophy, in the contemporary societies, when we plan the system of education, we get the influence of different thinkers, different educationists, different experts in different fields, right? We get the help of economists and we get the help of philosophers, and then we get the help of curriculum developers, like that. So we have to accept that the relationship is dynamic, relationship is interactive. Why? Philosophical ideas evolve and they are tested in the arena of educational practice. Philosophical ideas are practiced in education. Okay? And the challenges and experiences within education can prompt new philosophical inquiries new philosophical ideas and perspectives, different angles of thinking. Right? Please understand these two lines. Philosophical ideas evolve and they are tested in the field of education, educational practice, right? And the challenges and experiences within education can prompt new philosophical inquiries, right? And perspectives, different angles of thinking. Then, great philosophers throughout history have also been great educators, right? All these philosophers, such as John Dewey, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Maria Montessori, they are educators, right? They could recognize the vast link between philosophical thought and how we have to improve the minds of individuals and the societies. Okay, right. Then the relationship between the education and philosophy is like this. Philosophy sets the goals and education make an effort to achieve them, right? Philosophy gives us the question why. Education addresses that question and it gives the idea how. Education without philosophy is blind. That means without a plan. If there's education without a plan, that is blind, because we need the correct direction and the purpose. Philosophy without education is important because it should be stagnant. එතනම පල් වෙනවා කියලා අපි කියනවා. Because through education, philosophies are developed. Through education, we can produce philosophers, right? So then the ideals of philosophy cannot be made or cannot be realized without education. So please understand the interconnected nature, interactive nature between education and philosophy. Okay? Right. Then philosophy provides us the guiding principles and aims for education. Okay? Now, we discussed the how philosophy influence education. Okay? Philosophy gives us the goal. Philosophy sets the question of why. Right? Education without philosophy will be going astray. That means no direction. Right? At the same time, philosophy without education will be ineffective. Again, philosophy, dependence of philosophy on education. Right? While philosophy provides the guiding principles and aims for education, and education also plays a role. Education serves as the living laboratory, right? Living laboratory, that means we have to think of the way of getting correct direction, right? Education becomes the living laboratory. That means education provides the opportunity for experiments. Through those experiments, we can develop a person's philosophy, right? And then philosophy can be tested through education. Philosophy can be transmitted through education. Okay? And then you can see the ever-changing human experiences, right? So then the ever changing, always changing, the human experiences, human nature, they are always changing. Therefore, these two are interdependent. Philosophy and education are interdependent. The relationship is truly interdependent and dynamic, changing. You know, education is a continuous process. The educational theories are changing, educational approaches are changing, right? The strategies we use, you can change them, right? So, relationship, sorry, the relationship is truly interdependent and changing, dynamic, with each field enriching and shaping the other. So, philosophy helps us to plan our education well. Through the process of education, we can develop the ideas or philosophical ideas, right? Education provides the context and the material for philosophical reflection, right? The challenges of education paves the way to philosophical innovations, right? And the development of new theories. So you can understand that an education is the crucial mechanism for disseminating philosophical ideas and cultivating philosophical thinking. Education provides the opportunity for disseminating. Disseminating means publicizing, discussing with other people, right? If you have a personal philosophy, you can discuss it with the other people. You can present it to the other people through the education, right? Through educational platforms. Okay? Therefore, please understand the interdependent nature of education and philosophy. And then there are overlaps, right? And then they influence each other. Both are changing because new theories are coming in and new experiments are done. There are philosophical innovations, right? So all these ideas are very important, right? I advise everyone, please, you all can go through these. Go through these and prepare a short note. Why do we tell you that they are interdependent, right? So then you can understand the context. Education gives us the context. Education gives us the materials, right, for philosophy. Okay, right. So then the practical challenges are there for education, right? So then there to face those challenges, to solve the problems in the field of education, there are philosophical innovations coming in. Okay? They develop new theories to solve the problems in the field of education. Therefore, because of education, new philosophical ideas are emerged. Please understand that, right? So then education is the base for philosophical discussions, right? That's important. And you can cultivate philosophical thinking through education. And we always tell that a teacher should develop a personal philosophy. Okay? Right. Is this clear enough for you all? The interdependence nature of philosophy and education? Huh? Right. Shall we discuss some more questions and then you will be able to understand it further? This is the time for you to ask any question regarding this. Hmm? Share some questions and answers, then you can understand it more. Please go through these questions and answers for a while. Now look at question 17. Right, remember John Dewey as a philosopher who emphasized real life experiences, learning by doing, right? And student-centered education as well. Next one. Uh, right. Key ideas and movements in the 20th and 21st centuries regarding educational philosophy. Okay, the key ideas are like this. Individual differences, social justice, experiential learning, and the influence on psychology and technology. Right? And I have given some more ideas here as well. Then this is a summary here. Key ideas of the modern period. Okay. 16th century to 19th century. Emphasized on reason, individualism, and human rights. People struggled for human rights, and then preparing individuals for active participation in society. Developed critical thinking. Remember, in the modern era, it was regarding developing critical thinking and scientific inquiry. With the development of science and technology, there was scientific inquiry, right? Yeah, medieval period, what did I say? If you mention the term medieval period, you have to think of the religious practices, religious perspectives, the influence of especially Christianity, and there were Islamic influences as well. And they wanted to study and believe in God, understanding God, and study the theologies, religious doctrines as well. And spiritual development should be there, right? So the medieval period, there was a lot of focus on religion, particularly Christianity. Remember that. So this is the summary. Yes, these are the two influential civilizations we discussed here, Egypt and Greece, right? In ancient Egypt emphasized vocational training and religious instructions. Especially, you can remember the birthplace of Western educational philosophy. It was the ancient Greece, right? Remember that. What were the key characteristics of education in the ancient world? Yes, practical skills, especially moral development and transmission of culture. And remember, in the ancient era, education was limited for the elite class. Right? In the ancient era, education for the elite class. In the medieval period, education was influenced by the religions, right? So those things are important for you all to remember, and it's easy for you to remember. Okay? Yes. Anything else? The questions. Right, you are asking for these questions, but I think I should just revise those answers. I think I have to make the answers somewhat simpler than this, and I'll share this next week, okay? In the next lesson, I'll share all these questions and answers. I'll just make the language simple and the answers simple, okay? Today, I'll share the PowerPoint presentation now. I think, yes, we can stop the lesson, right? I'm trying to share the PowerPoint and you will be able to make use of it. If there's a place where you can't understand, right? If you need some more explanations, you can speak to me, right? Just send me a message during the lesson, or maybe you can just tell it after the lesson. Right. I'll simplify the questions and those answers further and let you have them. Let you just discuss them again, right? Yes, now I am trying to uh, give you the PowerPoint presentation. Please wait for a while. All right. Okay, just tell me if you got it. Right. Did you get that PowerPoint presentation? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
You got it? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, then thank you for responses. Subhadra. Yes, Subhadra, thank you. Right. Then I think today the lesson is full of different theories, different ideas for you all to remember, right? Then the what you have to do is you go through everything given in the PowerPoint presentation, prepare a short note on it, and try to answer the questions. I think according to what I just discussed, if you can remember the questions, then try to answer them. Once I give you the model answers and then the possible answers, you can just check how you understand them and how you can focus your attention on the different perspectives, right? Okay, and as a teacher, everyone has to develop a personal philosophy. After each lesson, you have to think of something new, something important to your practice in the classroom, in your context. Okay, Right. Then thank you all for waiting and joining the class. And I advise everyone to go through the notes and get ready for your exams well in advance without postponing everything. Okay. And you can just read these PowerPoint presentations because I have included all the necessary notes there. But you may explore some more materials if necessary. Right? And think of the practical aspects. You can think of getting examples from our field of education, our system of education as well. Okay, then. Right. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Right.
Thank you, madam. Good night.
Good night.